unbroken. Sent in. McManaman dodging. McManaman scoring!
Yes, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to GAA Fan TV. This is the show that keeps you up to date with everything that is happening in both Gaelic football and hurling. And we are here today, ladies and gentlemen, to talk a bit about the final game in the Super 8s this weekend, the final round of games. We should talk about some huge games, obviously, this weekend. In particular, Donegal travelling down to Mayo. Huge match, of course, for Donegal. You know, massive encounter for Mayo as well. Of course, Dublin will be travelling to Omagh to play Tyrone in the decider to see who finishes on top of that group. Of course, you do have some other games as well. Kerry will be travelling to Meath, and of course, Roscommon will travel to Cork. So certainly some very interesting games to dive into. Of course, though, first of all, guys, if you are new around here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, all that good stuff. Share this video out to as many people as possible. And yeah, lads, okay, well, you know, without further ado, let's jump straight into it. You know, we'll start off obviously by talking about Group 2. Cork, of course, hosting Roscommon. Yeah, but, you know, I've certainly been very impressed with Cork so far this year. Obviously, these two counties, this will be the last game they play in the championship this year. I think both counties can be extremely proud of what they've achieved in the championship this year. I don't think either team really would have expected some of the things they have achieved this year. I don't think Roscommon, you know, many of their fans would have expected them to have won the Connacht Championship, and, you know, getting into the Super 8s as well, being, you know, somewhat competitive in that game versus Tyrone. I know it all kind of fell apart against Dublin, but I think it was a matter of playing Dublin at the wrong time, in my opinion, as well as, you know, them not quite performing, you know, in that aspect of things. You know, but Cork as well have had a very good year, and it's a very young Cork side, a team that, you know, I think, you know, excites me in many ways, kind of looking into the future. You know, let's not forget that Cork, at, you know, minor level and at under 20s level are looking very good at the moment, and there is a project at the moment that Cork, you know, the Cork County Board are really working on to make sure that they become one of the elite teams in the coming years, and I believe that they could very well be in some time. They certainly are quite a long way off that at the moment, but, you know, you're looking at players like Luke Connolly, Mark Collins, Michael Hurley, who looked very impressive in that last game, and specifically having the home advantage over you know, Roscommon, I think will make a difference in this game. I feel like Roscommon might have ran out of steam a bit in that Dublin game. Roscommon have defended quite well at times in the championship this year, but it has been going forward where that has cost them, and I do feel like Cork will play a much more open, expansive type football game in this game rather than the game against Tyrone, where they tried to kind of match Tyrone's tactics in many ways. So I do fancy Cork just to edge out Roscommon by 2 or 3 points. I just feel like they'll have the momentum. I do feel like Roscommon are the better side. They have the better players, in my opinion. Conor Cox and the Smith, you know, to name some examples. But I just feel like Cork just have a bit more momentum. Dublin versus Tyrone, this should be a very, you know, weird game in many ways, because basically the team that finishes on top, this game is taking place on the Sunday, same time, of course, as the Cork versus Roscommon game, but basically what will happen is the team who finishes top of this group will be playing in an All-Ireland semi-final in just 6 days time after that, so basically Saturday. So, you know, it's strange, isn't it, to kind of have a, you know, a week's break in between an All-Ireland semi-final. So I don't think that will make too much of a difference to Dublin. I do think these two counties will very much rest players. I don't think Tyrone will want to force their hand in many ways, or play their hand, should I say. I think they will know, you know, Tyrone will be hoping that they will be playing Dublin. Well, they'll be hoping they'll be playing someone else in the All-Ireland final. But of course, more than likely, if they do reach an All-Ireland final, it probably will be Dublin. So they won't want to give away tactics. They won't want to give away, you know, anything of that nature. Dublin will probably switch up their team quite a bit, but I do think Dublin's squad is better than Tyrone's. I do fancy it to be a close game. I think Tyrone having the home advantage will make a difference. Dublin, There have been a couple of question marks over them this year. Their league form wasn't the best. They were actually beaten by Tyrone earlier in the year, where Tyrone very much switched up their tactics and exploited Dublin's fullback line by playing the ball into those spaces. So it'll be interesting to see if they do something similar again, or whether they revert to the defensive type system. I think they will go with the defensive type system in this game, just because I don't think they'll want to play their hand or anything. And I don't think they'll want to, waste that much energy. I actually feel like Tyrone would rather play Kerry in an All-Ireland semi-final, who's more than likely to finish first, than play Donegal anyway. So I'm going to say that Dublin edged them out by 2 points, but I do fancy it being a close game. Of course, then moving across to Group 1, these are the games that are taking place on the Saturday. I suppose first of all, Kerry versus Meath. Kerry looked very good in that game against Donegal. They've had a mixed year in some opinions. They didn't look great in the Munster Championship, but having seen kind of how well Cork have done, actually, Kerry they're doing well. They're definitely improved quite a lot since last year. I don't think physically they're quite at the standard they want to be, and they're probably still 1 or 2 years off really challenging Dublin, winning an All-Ireland, let's say. I do think there are ways to mark David Clifford out of the game. I think he's a player who very rarely likes to go on his inside. He always likes to cut back out on his outside. So I do think there are ways of stopping this Kerry side. But I don't see Meath doing that, in my opinion. I think, at home, Meath will cause problems. They'll probably be in the game for 50 or 60 minutes. Maybe there might be a surprise in this. Who knows? The fact that Kerry are, pretty much already through. So I think, who knows what might happen, but I do fancy Kerry to get the win. I don't think they'll want to play Dublin in an All-Ireland semi-final. They'll want to, chance their luck against Tyrone. So I do fancy Kerry to very much get the job done and win by 1 or 2 points. Meath are very much in the same situation kind of as Cork in many ways. Some young players, of course, coming into that side. James Conlon. You've got players like Mickey Newman. Killian O'Sullivan's been there a couple of years, but he's a very talented player. I'd like to see a lot more of him, next year, of course. But of course, Donegal versus Mayo. This is the big game, of course, this weekend. It's pretty much like an All-Ireland quarter-final in many ways. Mayo will be playing this, in their own backyard. Huge match, of course, for Mayo in many ways. To have this opportunity at home versus Donegal. Just a massive game for Mayo in many ways. To get back to another All-Ireland semi-final, I think would be a huge achievement, considering they looked way off the pace last year, and even having lost to Roscommon earlier in the year. So Donegal, though, of course, are a different breed in many ways. I feel like they are the closest challengers to Dublin, in my opinion, this year. Michael Murphy, probably the best footballer in the country at the moment. He's just outstanding in the midfield. He just dictates the game, dictates the pace of the game, the way it's played. He's just absolutely phenomenal in many ways. You got players there like Patrick McBrearty, of course, as well, who's always very good. Ryan McHugh, very good in that last game as well. So Donegal have an array of players in there. Mayo, of course, do have their own experience as well. I would highly expect Andy Moran to start in this game. He was fantastic when he came off the bench against Meath. You do wonder, maybe, is it a fitness thing, or is it, the fact he's getting older? Is that the reason why he doesn't start that much? Is a bit strange in my opinion, but you would expect him to start. I think Mayo, they play better when he's on the pitch. He is a leader, and I feel like he is the leader of this team, and I think he has been for some time. But yeah, one thing I want to see is the best Mayo and the best Donegal. I want to see these two teams play at their very best level, because there's been a lot of times with Mayo where they don't quite show up. I'm thinking of that Kerry game, Roscommon as well. I want to see them play at their absolute best, because I think that will make Donegal play at their very best, and it will ultimately make a very exciting game. In terms of my prediction, I just feel like Donegal are going to edge it by 3 or 4 points. I just feel like they have a bit more for Mayo. I think they have a stronger midfield. Their full forwards have been excellent this year. Jamie Brennan, of course, didn't have his best game against Kerry, but I do think he'll want to rectify that. So I just have a sneaky feeling Donegal will edge it. I think a lot depends on the opening 15 to 20 minutes. You know, if Mayo can start really well and put Donegal under a lot of pressure with that home advantage, who knows what might happen. But I do expect Donegal to take advantage of Mayo's kick-out problems as well. We've seen a number of times the Mayo goalkeeper doesn't like kicking it short. Kerry done that on him very well. And I do fancy Donegal to do something like that to that effect as well. So I am going to say that Donegal edges this out by 3 to 4 points. Let me know down in the comments below what you think. Am I right? Am I wrong? I'll see you all when some of these matches finish for some match reactions and all that good stuff. But yeah, lads, I will catch you all next time. Good luck.